Joining us now in the Hyundai Texans radio studio, Texans head coach Lovie Smith. Coach, great to have you with us. Let's talk a little bit about the Denver game. Get ready for Chicago. First of all, your defense, opposing point totals through the first 2 weeks, pretty low. 16 points allowed against Denver. I know you didn't get the win, but that side of the ball, Coach, moving in the right direction.
Yes, and when you face disappointment, you have to look at some of the positives that are happening, and that has been the case. I think defensively we've given up 3 touchdowns in 2 games, and to be able to hold, it comes down to it's about scoring. You go over runs, passes, scoring. I mean, how are you doing with it? But they've done a good job with it, as they have in red zone situations. We've been outstanding once teams have gotten down into the red zone, keeping them out end zone for touchdown.
Coach, what's been the biggest key when they've gotten down inside the red zone for your defense? It feels like, from a secondary perspective, guys are plastering receivers really well. What's been the key in your mind, in your estimation, of why you've been so good in those 2 situations in particular?
Yeah, I agree, John. It's been a combination of both, and it's just not like we play just zone coverage. It's
Sure.
a mix of zone and man coverages down there. You have to be disciplined in your rush lanes. But first, not letting the easy thing to do, of course, is to run the football. So we've really tightened down. It's a smaller field that you have to defend down there also, but that's something we put a big emphasis on. You keep them out of the end zone. You have an opportunity each week. So right now we're not where we want to be, but as long as we're not going to go through many games where we don't score a touchdown. So if we just keep playing that way and bring along on the offensive side, we're going to be okay.
You get 3 sacks in the game. Getting into the backfield has been something that your defenses have been able to do since you've gotten here, Coach. What's the key to that without sending extra people?
Well, just guys, first off, a belief in that. It's kind of an insult to the defensive line whenever we blitz, bring additional guys. But in order for that not to happen, you have to be able to win your one-on-one matches, and that was the case. Rasheem Green got in yesterday and was able to do some good things. Jerry Hughes has he's always playing a certain way, just with a motor. One of my favorite plays yesterday was Jerry running on a play all the way, 40 yards away, but he plays that way also. But we'll have to continue that pressure with our front.
I know there was talk about Derek yesterday and a lot of times matching up with Sutton as the game went on. But, Coach, over the first 2 games, what do you thought of Steven Nelson on the other side? It feels like he's made a few plays over on the other side of Sting and done some good things. What do you thought about the way Steven's played?
I thought he's been solid throughout also. But, yes, we had a big receiver. We felt like that was our best matchup with Stingley yesterday. But Steve has been steady. He knows the game. He's a smart football player. And both corners will get their opportunities each week, and that's how it's played out.
What do you make of the tackling? It seems like you're really getting after in that department. There were some situations where they got a few extra yesterday. What about that part of it, Coach?
Yeah, we've done some good things. And no, I just left the press conference talking about some of the amount of tackles Jonathan Owens has gotten in both of it. But our free safety is going to be involved. Mm-hmm. He'll be one of our leading tacklers each year that we play. But the tackling has been good. Just like the rest of our game right now, we haven't played our best. We haven't tackled as well as we need to at the end of the game. That's something we'll have to clean up.
Is that something that doesn't come into play really? Well, always comes into play, but during the regular season is where that really is going to improve, the first 2, 3, 4 games, that kind of thing?
Like you said, it should, because no one does a lot of tackling in training camp in some of those situations. So it should. Just like your entire game of football should improve as you continue to play games. That's why when you don't have as much success one week, you cannot wait to get back on the field for the next.
Coach, did you sense that your defense had Russell and their offense rattled a little bit? I mean, he completed under 46% of his passes. I mean, you could hear the crowd very upset with the way things were going. Did you guys kind of feel like, not, okay, we've got this guy under control, but did you kind of feel like, hey, maybe we got this guy frustrated a little bit?
Well, I think whenever you play a great player like Russell Wilson, to have him under control, that's hard. You can have him ball up for a long period of time, and like in our game, he was able to hit a touchdown pass there late. But I thought for the most part we did play him well, keeping him contained in the pocket, and when he threw the ball, being in position to make plays on it, yes.
Coach, offensively, you're able to run the ball a little bit better against the Denver Broncos. What'd you see out of Pierce? What'd you see out of the blocking, the whole thing working together?
Well, I like a lot of the things that seem like every time Damon has played and we've committed to him playing, he's done good things. It's all the same thing. He's going to run hard every time he gets an opportunity to carry the ball. Most of the time, that first defender is not going to get him down. So that's we look for things to build on, after a tough loss, and that's one of them. He got, I think, 15 carries yesterday. We'll need to continue to up that amount. Again, positive things happen when he has the ball.
Does the defense pick up on his physicality, Coach, in that they see him with a run where he's carrying a guy or breaking through a tackle? And I know the defense is getting water and get ready, but they get sort of charged up seeing his physicality out there on the field?
Absolutely. I think the team gets fired up seeing we want to be a physical football team. And one way to do that is to run the football. Troy Harrison blocking for him. Yeah. That rookie combination right there, yes, it gets the football team fired up, and it's something that we believe in.
Coach, third down conversions, I know they weren't where you wanted them to be. What goes into that? What goes into improving in that category?
We have to continue to work. I know it's pretty simple, but we have to, that commitment to identify it first. That is an issue. That's stopping drives. A lot of what we're talking about right now is just you don't have enough opportunities to really continue to have that running game going. But it comes down to one play, having to make that play. And we have to do a better job. Yesterday, we had a lot of favorable situations. I'm talking third and short. Got to be able to convert on those.
Coach, one of the things that I think everybody in football talks about, especially when it gets to the fourth quarter, they use the word finish. We got to finish. We got to finish. We got to finish. I thought about this on the plane as we were coming home. In your mind, what does it mean to finish? What does it mean to go and finish? Is it as simple as we got to score points? What does it mean in your mind, in your estimation, to go finish a game?
Well, good question. And in my mind, what it means is to play your best ball at the end of the game. You come out, we talk a lot about starting fast.
Yep.
You're excited, you go out there, everybody's full of energy. You have to finish that same way. Most games come down to what you do at the end of the game. You played 3 quarters. All right, what's happening in the fourth quarter? And nobody wants to hear about you being tired or any of that. And now both teams pretty much know what the other is trying to do against them. And you need to play your best ball then. And that's what we're going to keep working toward.
Coach, so often the media talks about, we talk about it too, a receiver, he's getting a lot of catches, he's not getting a lot of catches, so-and-so receiver needs to do more. But how does that even work when the ball doesn't go in that direction or whatever? It's a cumulative thing, right?
Yes, and I think it's a good point that you made. I mean, in order, a lot of times you just look at the stat sheet, well, how many catches and all this. To me, though, it's about make the play great when the ball is thrown your way. If you're making the play then, we keep track of that. We grade whether you have success or not in a game is the amount of opportunities, what percentage of the plays that you make. A lot of that is on us as coaches if a guy is not involved. And that's something that we'll continue to work on too.
Sir, are you a good grader or are you a tough grader?
Well, just like my old teachers used to tell me, the grade that I earn is what you put on the paper, and that's what we do.
You get that red pen. I know you've probably been focused on yesterday's game, and we got off the plane to feel like 2 hours ago, Coach. But Chicago, Bears, have you had any advanced looks at the Bears at all, or has it just been let's fix our Denver stuff and then get ready for Chicago?
Well, the beauty about modern technology is that there's so many crossover games. As you're preparing for another opponent, you have a chance to see pretty much everybody play. Yeah. Before you play them that week. And that's been the case with us. I was able to watch their last game against the Packers this morning and know a little bit about them, but not an awful lot. Now we've graded the video and we kind of moved on to the Bears. We'll get a chance to know them a lot better now.
Well, it seems like every week you're seeing really tough running backs. And here's another one in particular, Montgomery. You look at him. The quarterback can run also. What about the way they attack things offensively, Coach? That's
what would be a little different this week compared to the previous 2 games that we played. Running back attack, they have 2 excellent running backs that they'll play. But the mobile quarterback, like of course, Justin Fields, will take off and run. Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson, he's moving around to buy time to pass the ball. Justin will do that a little bit, but it's also move around and take off and run the football. But we feel like that's how we set our defense up. athletes, 11 athletes on the field to be able to handle a mobile quarterback that can run. I know it'll be a big challenge for us this week.
Coach, we were talking about tackling a little while ago, and I know the CBA limits a little bit more of what you can do during practice at certain points. What's the biggest focus in practice as you can put on tackling without actually physically hitting every single play? What's kind of the biggest focus you can put on it during practice?
Well, I think just a focus on it. And then first, why are we missing tackles? And in practice, it's first about getting in position.
Yep.
And you can finish, whether you go 100% and put a guy down on the ground. I don't feel like you have to do that always. Boxers, they spar an awful lot before they get to the main fight. But for us, just wrapping up better. That's been a constant for us. It's as simple as that. We're getting there at the point of attack, just doing a better job of wrapping up.
Well, plus it seems like sometimes somebody will get an ankle or something, and had there been no one else there, maybe the runner can keep going, but that at least slows somebody down. It's a team thing to make a tackle sometimes.
It is definitely a team thing, and you want to get as many teammates as possible around the ball. But for us, as we talk about, Jonathan Owens is our free safety. He's the last wave of the fence a little bit, and to clean things up when maybe the guy isn't, he's just not running clean, but being able to just finish off a tackle, you need guys to do that. We play a lot of zone coverage too. And when you have zone, the back part of your secondary with zone eyes having opportunities to also finish up and finish off tackles.
Coach, personnel is going to be different for the Bears than it was for the Colts, but it's Matt Eberflus. It's a defense that Davis and the guys saw last year.
Yeah.
Does that help you in preparation? It's four-man surface that you've seen before. So does that help you going into a game against the Bears?
Yes, I think first off, just with what they do and what we do defensively, we're at least, I'd say we're probably first cousins with what we do.
Yeah.
But for them last year, yes, we've gone against the guys from when Matt and crew, not Matt, Allen, who's their secondary coach, a lot of their guys, they feel like they know what we're going to do, and we feel like we know what they're going to do. So the execution part is what comes into place also, and that'll be the case this week.
Coach, how do you spend your time? You're the head coach, you're a coordinator, but when you want to focus on other position groups too, do you go into those rooms, meet with the coaches? I got to think it changes week to week sometimes. How do you handle that part of the business?
Well, a lot of it doesn't change from week to week. I have a routine that I go through when I meet with different people. So that's how you just have to get organized. Monday is a day where it's, there's not many 15-minute breaks in between. It's just pretty much one meeting to another of trying to watch the video with all three phases. And then, of course, just going over how we played with different groups. But there's enough time to get anything there's always enough time to get whatever you need done.
Is that like when you were a teacher and then the principal would have to come evaluate you and give you a review and all that?
It's a lot like that, and especially on Mondays, and which is great. But then there's constant communication throughout. I don't believe in just meeting to meet, but to me, it's an open mic. As far as you meeting, you see something you don't like or you like, you're giving that instant, an instant response to that then.
How has that changed over the years? I mean, you've been a coach since the early O's, a head coach, and obviously an assistant before that. So how has it changed over the years, the way you handle some of those nuances?
Well, I've always been involved throughout. In my time as a head football coach, it just can't be about one day of communicating what you want done. So that's constant daily is what it is. I did that back then. You have a lot more. You have a lot more electronic things and just people to help you with a lot of it. Used to, it was just me doing a lot of it. Now there's a lot of assistants. I have an assistant, two people that help me with a lot of the things that I have to do. So that's how times have changed a little bit. Then it comes down to some of the same basic fundamental things that you do.
Did you ever have to take the old reels to get the old 8mm or 16mm film back in the day? Did you have to do that?
I don't do that, but I have an old time clock that I brought out to the guys to show them a little bit. But I'm an old school guy, of course, with my music. We've talked about that. But a lot of those principles on getting stuff done, they're not going to ever change. Yeah. And maybe now we don't have the reel-to-reel or an 8-track or something like that, but you still continue to tell them what's on those reel-to-reels as much as anything on how you do things.
All right, I know you've been asked a lot about Chicago and everything, and it's understandable, but what about playing in that building, that environment? We talked last week about, hey, maybe the Mile High thing isn't as pronounced as some people say, and you were saying something about the Windy City. Yeah, it might be windy. Is it any windier than anywhere else? What can you share with us about the Chicago environment at Soldier Field?
Well, last week I talked about Denver, and I said, maybe urban legend as much as anything. Didn't think that it would affect us that much, and it really didn't. What I've said about Chicago, if we were going up to Chicago in mid-December or January, yes, we need to be concerned. But right now it's one of the most beautiful places around, so we know that we're going to play outside. The Windy City is that's kind of describing something else, not necessarily playing there. So it's going to be a grass football field. There's going to be a good opponent on the other side, and it's football time.
Coach, you spent years up there. Now they're going to build a dome stadium. I always feel like the romantic feel of Soldier Field is you're outside, you're dealing with the elements, and now that apparently they're going to move up north and go inside. Just as a fan, you in favor of that?
Well, times are changing.
I mean, you've coached a lot of games, a lot of snow and rain, and, I mean, you felt the elements in that stadium.
Yeah, going back, that's old school, I guess. And it's a new day. People like to be more comfortable. I haven't heard that. I know there was some talk, but if that is the case, no, it doesn't quite seem right for Green Bay or Chicago to be playing in a dome. But there's a time when people would have said that about the Vikings and Detroit, but they are. So we'll see.
All right, I have a few of these. The Amegy Bank Ask Coach questions of the week. There's a large group of traveling Texans going to Chicago, Coach,
awesome.
and you're an expert on Chicago. So they wanted to know about a few things here. Should they take one of those river cruises? Have you ever done that?
Absolutely, I think yes. I've a few times I've even taken an entire staff for one of that route to go out and just see some of the architectural, all of that, just to see the city. Would highly recommend it. Yes.
Okay,
that's an easy one.
Deep dish pizza, or do you like the regular? The
regular.
That's me, because I grew up in the New York area of that vicinity. Which is your preference, Coach?
Another. These are all layups you're giving me, Mark, right now. Deep dish for sure.
Okay.
So many great places, of course. I can't say anyone because that would get me into trouble. One specific one, but deep dish.
Deep dish. All right. Should they take a gangster tour? Because these are big in Chicago. The Al Capone stuff, the Untouchables.
Take a tour?
You could take a tour of some of the sites, I guess.
That.
Well, just a tour in general. We talk about the tour also, but gangster tour per se, it wasn't just. That was just more of a. I think you should just take a city tour of Chicago, and you'll be able to. Most of the things that you need to see, you will then.
Pictures taken. You, Dusty. Steven Silas, Brown University classmate, a couple years younger than me. You took a picture with all those different coaches of programs throughout the city and organizations throughout the city. What did that mean to you to be there, to kind of share that moment and just be, it's a picture, but it's a chance to get together with leaders of other programs and organizations throughout the city. How cool was that?
It was. I mean, it's just that. I mean, diversity. We talk about H-Town. We have that here. And it's just, when it's the first of anything, I think it's pretty important. We're one of the biggest cities, of course, in the country, and we have the three major professional sports teams are led by people that look alike, that look like me. And for me, as I saw it, I mean, just a chance to be around. I love what Steven is doing as a young coach in the profession, and what Dusty Baker has done, of course, as someone as a great player, Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame coach, just to be able to just talk ball with them in general. They're, of course, big Texan fans, like I am, of course, their program.
Well, I'm sure Steven Silas probably had some good questions. You and Dusty being in the businesses you're in so long, so productive. Now he's got Paul Silas as well to, get some information over the years from.
Yeah, just think about that. His dad, as much as anything, of course, I'm more familiar with his dad and just being, I'm a diehard basketball fan in general too. So that's always neat. And when you start talking to coaches from different professions, you start seeing you kind of dealing with some of the same things, motivating athletes and how you do things, how you treat, just so many things in notes that you can compare.
Coach, I've said this often. Of course, I'm the son of a coach, so I believe in this. But I've said that if you're a good coach, you're a good leader of men or women, that you can coach. Once you learn the nuances of a particular sport, you could coach any sport. If you're a good coach, and you know how to lead, you can pretty much coach any sport. Now, obviously, the nuances become a little different, but I feel like you can do that. You think that's true?
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think as a dad, we all know that we can, because most dads know how to coach. Whatever their child is going through,
true.
Of course, they're an expert at that. And I've had a chance to do that. But also in my early career, when I coached all positions.
Yep.
You know, you just weren't a specialized football coach. I coached football. I coached track and field. I coached basketball. And these are all sports, of course, that I love.
That's excellent. Vince Lombardi coached basketball, too. So there's that. Coach, thanks so much for being with us. Good luck against Chicago.
Anytime at all.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.